Alright, here we go. Jumping right in. So right back. This kind of clay is oil-based clay that does not bake. It just stays pretty soft at room temperature. A lot of big stuff is made with this because it's per pound relatively a little cheaper. Well, a lot cheaper if you're making giant things. So like all of the prosthetics and giant dinosaur things you've seen made, they use some brand name version of this kind of clay, either a JMac or Chavant. There's a few different kinds. They come in this weird tan color, in brown and gray, old gray clay. Been around forever. It's really good because it's reusable. You can really just literally melt it down in a pot, like a crock pot. I have one over here just for this. And then you can strain it. It gets very liquidy when it's melted, but not like super liquidy. It's still quite thick. So, but like all these little bits of plaster and silicone from using this a few times for mold making, you can get all that stuff out and then have a pretty fresh clay. But you can see it's just from room temperature cold, just a little smush, it warms right up real fast. Unless it's in like a super big solid block, which does come in these big bricks. But all I need is a small tube. I'm just going to be making a thin wall around this that will support the plaster while it's drying, curing, which only takes 10-20 minutes, so I should have this all done pretty quick. So I'm just going to get a little bit bigger than I need, maybe 1 inch by 2 inches by, yeah, that'll work. Maybe just this whole piece, why not? So as long as I join it smoothly here and use a tool or a finger to smoosh it onto the table, it should be watertight enough. This oil will repel the water, and there's no need for a mold release, it just comes right off. It's a little slimy in the fingers. You end up sort of getting it in your fingerprints after a while, which isn't the greatest feeling, but it's not that bad. I would definitely wash your hands before eating. It's not like it's super toxic, but I don't know. Somehow I still know the taste of this from when I was little. Don't ask. I don't know. Must have put it in my mouth at some point. Really little. Alright, this will work. I'm getting myself a nice little wall here. Enough room to press down so I don't have to worry about smushing the piece with my fingers. Just super quick and dirty. I have a nice mold, so I don't have to make 50 of these by hand from scratch. I usually use a tool of some kind to kind of carve the wall sharp, so it helps for bonding. Don't really have to worry about the outside too much, but you can press it down to make sure it's not going to lift up, because you sure don't get a second chance. Once it starts to leak, you kind of can press it down, but if there's water underneath, you don't want to have it leaking everywhere. You see, it's pretty easy to get a nice sharp seal. And also, whatever you carve here is going to be what you see on the edge of the mold. It doesn't really have to be super clean, but obviously if it's full of little bumps, you're going to have to pick that out of either the plaster or the clay, and that's annoying. Alright, we're good. Close enough. Well, we're really going for it today. I'm going to get this thing done. So if you guys are up for it, everybody's out there watching. You're welcome to watch along. It's going to be a long one. But I'm going to get this done. Alright, so good old yogurt containers work super well for this. Just need a little bit of water. Now, I've heard people say all kinds of things about how to mix plaster. I've done it this way since I was a little boy, and it's always worked, so I don't care. It doesn't, just don't tell me how. I don't care if you mix your water into your plaster, you sift it, whatever. One thing you do have to note that if you're going to go by water volume, for sure don't put as much as you think you need in water. Put half the water you need for what you're thinking of volume-wise. So that was way too much. I probably don't even need that much. That's a good amount. And then it's just I pour the plaster by eye. I've done it enough times. I got a good eye for the thickness. I just don't measure. It's all about the consistency anyway, and it's worked every time for me. So I'm just not interested in measuring plaster. All right, so I got my little. Let me see. I'll turn this down so you can see it in focus. So I'm just getting a little cup. Definitely never dip a water-filled container into your plaster bucket. I've just got this little scooper. If you pour it slowly, you can see that it'll just satisfyingly merge itself into the water. No lumps. So what I usually do is keep going until it hits the top, until it basically stops flowing in and merging easily. Then I'll stir it and then add if I need, but almost never add water. I just thicken it up until it's the right thickness, and you can mix it a little thin, a little thick. It's pretty forgiving stuff. This is called Hydra Stone. It's really it's a similar plaster of Paris gypsum product, but it's got something in it, make it a little harder, so it feels nice and solid. A lot of the garden gnomes and garden decor things are made out of this Hydra Stone, and it's like I get a bag of it, like a 50-pound bag, for ridiculously cheap from a sculpting supply place, and it'll last for years if you don't do a ton of casting. I just got a hardware store 5-gallon bucket, and it keeps forever. It's great. Should have got a stir stick first. Don't have one, and this is why I end up with plaster on the ends of all my tools. So you see it's got a little bit of almost a little bit of sliminess to it. Very satisfying. Can't say that I don't like it, but yeah, it'll feel and look a little like that kind of homemade what is it called? Non-Newtonian fluid. I can't remember what it's called, but there's like this weird gack stuff you can make. We used to do that. Anyway, that's pretty runny. It's coming off in a nice stream. I could probably pour that and have it cast eventually, but I like to mix them a little hot, especially for this kind of thing. I'm going to go a little thicker. So I just add like half a scoop or a scoop, maybe not a full scoop, but you see how you can mix it in there as long as I do it carefully, not vigorously at first. I just don't get any lumps, so I don't know. I'm guessing a lot of people do it this way too. You get some air bubbles. It happens. I do have a vacuum chamber to get that out, but your pot life's not too long in this stuff, so I wouldn't. For this kind of thing, it doesn't matter. I don't need to pull open the vacuum thing. I can get enough of the air out by that. Yeah, so now that you can see how it's a little bit thicker. See how it's holding the surface tension? Feels goopier. There's no like wet liquid on top. It's pretty even all the way through. That's a better consistency to me. I would like to pour with that. I don't want to make it too thick or I won't get all the details in there. I could brush it in. I don't want to lose the details, but I do have a brush. Let's see. This one's a little rough. Probably don't need to. Let's just see if I can drip it on there. Let's switch back to close-up. I'm not worried about touching it too much because it's not like super delicate. But you see how just pouring it, all those little bubbles come out, most of them. But I really don't want to have any bubbles on the surface of this, so I'm going to try to just rub across it, break the surface tension, get any bubbles out, and then just pour the rest. I could even use the other side of this. So the other side is rubber shaper. It's got a nice little point on it. I don't want to press too hard or I'll lose the shape. You see how there's already a bubble in there I got. Get a little closer. Be really careful not to press too hard. Alright, we're good. If I pour really thin stream too, I get a lot of the big bubbles will just disappear up here. And also air wants to rise, so doing a flat mold like this is probably one of the easiest things to do. And look at all the extra plaster I got. Every time. Anyway, it's cheap. I'm not too worried about it. If I was doing multiple castings, I would definitely measure a water first, at least figure out, how much water I'd need, mark a line on the container, and then I would get the consistent amount each time. But yeah, look at it. That's a lot to waste. Not my favorite thing to do. But having some left over in the pot is useful because you can get you'll get a better idea of when it's ready to demold. Yeah, got a little cat hair. Should be okay. All right, and then you can leave a tool in there, a mixing thing. It can make it easier to pull out. But I'm just gonna let that go now on the side. This time, yogurt container is easy enough to pull. You just squish it, things will pop out. All right, I'm gonna put that on the floor. Get a paper towel. We can go back to working on the move. Sorry, it's right next to the microphone. I'm gonna close my plaster bucket up. And patiently wait. Plaster does get hot as it catalyzes. Not super hot. It's not like resin, AB resin pours. Those things get hot. You gotta watch out for those. But this stuff, I mean, you can touch it. You can cast your hand. It doesn't get hot enough to burn you unless it's like really thick. But even then, I've never found it super hot. I've played around with it enough. Put my hands in it, made a cast of my hand, whatever. I mean, I wouldn't like put it on my face without strips and stuff of gauze and Vaseline. Don't forget the Vaseline on your face if you're ever going to do anything near your hair, because it will stick to your hair and you will lose your hair. I'm not saying from personal experience, but I did have somebody do that once, and it was as funny as it is, it's really not that funny, because yeah, he lost a lot of eyebrow. was really hard not to laugh, though. All right, I'm going to prep this a little more while we're waiting, even though I've done it right in the center of what I need to work. So, let's see if we can't move over a little bit. Maybe I'll work on these little guys while I'm waiting. So I don't really want to mess with this too much. I think it's good. So yeah, I'll set her aside. All right, I know we're jumping around here and stuff, but gotta have something to do while I'm waiting. All right, I'm not quite ready to start on the big full one yet, so I'm just gonna work around these guys. I had done a little bit more since the first recording. Just as a reminder, we got this set, this really nice set from a thrift store. It's one of the nicest ones I've seen. There's a lot of traditional folk they call them Mexican style, or I guess I'm sure they're made in Mexico, but I'm not sure exactly. So I don't want to be disrespectful to the artists and the origin of these, but they you search online for Mexican pottery nativity scenes, you will find these. But this is one of the nicest sets with the paintings on the front that I've ever seen. And most of them are much smaller than this, and it's not as detailed. I really like this set. But it was broken in pieces all over the place. So you can see the gray parts have been the replacement parts that I've made already. I'm going to plan on popping them off and baking them, and gluing them back in, and then painting it to finish it. You can see after it's been sitting for a couple of days, the clay gets to be reasonably stiff and holds its shape real nice. So they'll bake really well. This one only missing the ear, really easy. Just stuck it on there. I'll be able to pop that off and bake it and glue it back. Well, a little bit of a piece there, but it's okay. This one was a little harder, but actually worked really well. So I was able to join a piece almost perfectly smooth onto there. Way better than it being broken off, that's for sure. So I'm gonna fix these hands. I ended up just roughing in these hands, but they're way too big. Just looking at them compared to these other guys, they're a lot smaller. So I'm gonna fix that. Turn my music down. From Russia. Oh, hello. I don't know much Russian, I'm sorry. All I know is Privyet and Хорошо. But thanks for watching. You're welcome. And what I'm saying is not super important most of the time. Being real honest. You can get enough just by looking. Okay, so that shape is too fat, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that right off. Yikes. There we go. Cute little hands. I like them. They're simple. I mean, the originals were made in terracotta, water clay, so you can only do so much detail, and especially if you're doing a lot of the same thing over and over again, you want to come up with a factory way of doing it, kind of like what I'm doing here with this feather. Now this join, I want to make it look like it was attached properly, so I'm just making a little bit of a lip in there. I think that's good. That's good. Yeah, that's way better. I'm fighting the urge again to not make too much detail. I want them to look like they were original. If I end up with little tool marks or things, I can also, well, I mean, the original has tool marks too, but if there's like a little burr or a little piece that I don't want, I can always carve it off after baking. But I'm filling in a little bit on purpose in these gaps so that it joins better and doesn't have that same weakness of cracking off. And it's hidden well enough in the deep crack there, you won't see it. Okay. If you can test your plaster, I mean, I can see that it's still wet. Normally it gets a little bit porous looking. You kind of see looks more like stone than water. Okay, same thing with this hand. I'm going to cut that finger off and shorten it. It's better. Just too thick. I think that'll do. Alright, this villager's got a whole arm missing. Her little flowers missing. Let's see what we can do here. Looking at the other ones as I get a rough idea. Not much of a flower, just a little ball stuck there. I gotta do something. There, simple. That'll work. I'll just glue it. Is she missing finger? Ooh, tiny bit. I'm not sure. Might use something else for that. It's such a small piece, I don't think I could do much. This piece of clay. Let's see, I need a whole arm. Yeah, it's going to take another 15 minutes. When I'm super impatient, I've been known to put a paper towel on the back of these to soak up a bit of the water. Basically just needs to be held still and it'll start to catalyze. But depending on how hot you make it, if you use warm water or lots of powder to water ratio, you can end up with a faster turn. Oh, I know it's so cold. Tiny bit more. Doing lots of plaster casting will dry out your skin quite a bit. I technically supposed to use gloves if you do it a lot. I don't think I've ever once used gloves for plaster, just being honest. And this clay is considered non-toxic, so I don't feel bad touching it. I don't know if I could work with it if I couldn't feel it. Hey. I'm gonna end up dropping this again. Alright, I'm just trying to get the volume right. I think I'm pretty close. What I need. Get the hand roughed in, shape-wise, lengthwise. Pretty close. There we go. And luckily it's one piece. It looks like they joined it at the wrist, which is probably why a lot of these hands broke off, just because it's the weakest point with any kind of water clay. The spot where you join it, it's just going to crack off unless you really mix the clay together. It's one of the reasons I don't like it so much. All right, there we go. It's a little cuff. It's a little thicker, isn't it? Pretty close. Let's see if it didn't grow too much. Pretty good. Yeah, I kind of knew it wasn't going to stick, but you see how I'm getting this shape and I'm getting the negative part. It'll be fine. Not too bad. Okay, call that one done. All right, let's see where we're at here. Starting to stiffen up. Still a little wet. You can see all the water that's wicked off of that. Just fighting the urge not to make it too dry, but you can see it's got a really interesting quality to it, this Hydra Stone. A little bit of shaking like this, you can get all that. It's interesting. It's a lot more like GAC. I bought it for a long time, so I kind of forget what regular plaster is like, but I remember it not being so sticky. It kind of almost has like a gluey quality to it. All right, gotta get some tea. All right, let's see what else we got here. Missing a little fingertips. Not the worst. I might just use some glue or something to fill that in and just paint over it. Okay, who's left? Oh, he's missing fingers. It's gonna be a real pain. I might have to just glue a few things on there. Let's see, it might be enough that I can get it. Carve it off. Yeah, it's not too bad. So you can stick it there. There's a lot to carve away, so I'll try to get it all off before baking it, because I do not want to have to carve a tiny little piece like this down. It'll just fall apart. It's not too bad. Yeah, that's not bad. Way better than broken fingers, that's for sure. Boom, done. Nice. All right, he's not really missing anything else. I think he's good. We don't have any names on the bottom. Wish I knew which one was which. Sure, there's ways to tell. I mean, look at that. Love that painting. It's gonna be fun. I've got no Joseph, so I'm gonna have to do a whole Joseph from scratch. Figure out something to put on his belly and back. Pretty sure he has a cape similar to these guys. I like this tree. It's looking really good. I'm glad I made it. Made the peacock myself. Was trying out some other things and wasn't really happy with it. Oh, look at that. Almost. It's like a little jelly right now. And when it turns, you know it. It's hard as a rock. This chip is bugging me. should work. Honestly, some of these, they may not even need to be baked if they don't need to support anything and it's just a small little chip like this. I've gotten away with just gluing, like just covering it with crazy glue and painting over it without baking it. It's not the best solution, but as long as it's covered in glue, it's not really going to go anywhere. But that's also going to mess with the surface, so you're going to gotta sand it. But getting that piece out and baking it and then putting it back in is going to be tricky, but might be worth it in the end. It's not too bad. So I'm just letting the tool find the edge. I'm not pressing too hard. And yeah, anything else I can fix after. I think I'm going to bake it. All right. Some easy ones. Ooh, now Mary's got a whole bunch missing. Gotta do a whole arm, gotta do her whole shaw, and whole other hand, and I think she's holding something. There's a little missing piece of glaze there, so I'm guessing she's holding something. Most of the ones I've seen reference-wise are similar style. Have her holding something anyway. Not quite, not quite. You can see how it's quite stiff now, but not still liquidy. So, a few more minutes. Work on the other guys. So I clear coated my little picture frames already. So those should be ready to go, except for the hooks that I'm waiting for by mail. I'm letting them dry somewhere else. I can still smell it though. Should have got a whole bunch more. Might need to break the pasta maker out for this, just because I'm going to need a sheet that's even the whole way down. I could do it by hand, but I have to roll it out and stuff. I do have these little sheets here, which are already pretty close to the thickness, maybe half as thick as it should be. No, it's pretty close. I'm just looking at the thickness next to those. Could probably put two together. Yeah, right, fine. Talk myself into it. Where do I put these guys? Again, the only reason this is separating is because this has been rolled out and laid in strips instead of a box after enough time passes, they start to stick again. Well, that wasn't bad. That's a nice piece right there. Is that so thick? Is it 3? No. Yeah, I think I'm gonna roll this out. Oh, it's gonna be too much of a pain. Let's see, how big is it gonna be? At least that wide. Probably a little wider. Darn it. Yeah. Alright, I'll use those as a sample. Size. Come on. It's really taking its time. I want this to mix well, otherwise I will have a weak point right along what I just did. Now if I had my pasta thing handy, I would just run it through a bunch of times, make a new big flat piece, but I don't feel like grabbing it right now. That's gonna want to break. Yeah, probably gonna have to do it, but make it a rough sheet and the right size. Let's see where all the joins are. Just have to really mix across it like this. Flatten it back out. It's gonna pretty brittle. It's been sitting for a while. It's just going to fall apart. It's not too bad, but I don't want to risk it. So I'll wait for that. Oh, there we go. Look at that. So it's already turning into like a powdery look. It's already hard enough. I can take the clay off. So let's get ready to do this. Try to get all the powder off my fingers. Let's see how nicely this comes off once you get it going. Probably could have stuck some petroleum jelly on my table if I didn't want this plaster sticking to the table. But it's pretty slick. It's a glossy finish. If it was anything else, I would never pour directly onto it. I've done silicone stuff and things right on top of this table. It's been fine. All right, well, there's the clay. One use, done. You can see how it's pretty well dry there. Oops. Alrighty. Now, if I pull this off too soon, it'll be much more brittle and want to break. So I'm still going to wait a little longer. But instead of this ugly top, I want to carve it a little bit. Might as well take the moment to clean it up. Where did my blade go? Alright, well, I guess I'll just tool it. You'll see that it's got a different property when it's in this state. It's a little more crumbly and wet, which actually makes it really good for exactly what I'm doing. If you ever want to like carve little keys or something into the back, like your initials, whatever. This is the moment to do it before it really sets. It's carvable afterwards, but once all the water evaporates out, it gets bone dry. It's very, very much harder. If that makes sense, if you know what I mean. But you can see how it does this really interesting kind of way you can carve into it like this. I like it. I just want it to be smooth and clean. So I'm going to turn it over and press into it. If I have any bumps or anything, it'll end up adding uneven pressure. It might crack the mold. So I don't want to do that. But there you go. That's, you know, half an hour start to finish. It was worth it. I'll get a lot of good presses out of this one piece. All right, now I do not want to mix plaster with my gray clay, so I'm being real bad here, keeping it on the same table. Let me move it over, and I will sweep it off onto the lid underneath me. up later. Yeah. Trying to find my water. As you can see in there, it's hardened, but it has that liquid still on top, which will eventually evaporate. And if you really want to let it set, you would leave it a lot longer than I am. But I'm gonna chance it in a few minutes. I did take a lot of the water off the top of the towel. As you can see, it's getting harder and harder there. Gonna wait a few more minutes though. Towel. A little bit of clay residue left, just wipe it off with a towel. Ooh, look at that. So nice. Couple little bubbles. Not the worst. And I even have this one. Okay, here we go. Clean this up. See how that just took every bit of that surface detail in there. It's slightly warm to the touch. It'll get warm, then it'll get cold, and then after a day, all of the water comes out and it turns super white. But as long as it's hard enough, I can start using it right away. As long as I'm careful, I don't drop it like an idiot, I will I'll have enough that I can press into it. So feeling how it's, make sure it's flat, looks good. All right, let's give her a try. After all that time. So as you can see, I can bend these once I press them. I should be able to make a nice little bend, get them flowing around. This one's going to be tricky because it's a little plastery. Not too bad. You can see there's really just a tiniest little bit of plaster in there. The rest is super clean. So I'm going to think about how low I want them to go. So I have to start all the way at the bottom and work my way up. I want them to kind of lay around it like that. I think that'll do. Just don't want them to be floating in the air, because otherwise they will be very hard to keep from breaking. Get my light over here. So now you can see why I have that ball underneath. I also want the transition to be somewhat flat, so because there's going to be so many layers of them, I'm just going to go ahead and smush that in. Not worried about it. Somebody's asking, how many times can I cast before losing detail? Thanks and Merry Christmas. From Southern California. Oh, wow. Almost read South Carolina, sorry. This kind of thing, honestly, I don't know how many times I could press into it. It would be I'd be surprised if I don't get the 20 or so that I need out of here. But you know, eventually there's wear and tear. It really depends on the shape. If there's undercuts, you know, you can pretty easily break little pieces off. Look at that. That's pressing in so nice. Just using the shape that I have. Just going, pressing. Oh, I like it. Oh, it's gonna look nice when I start to layer those up. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. Getting excited now. All right, it's important to have it warm. And what I don't want to do is ball it up like this and then press it in, because then I'll have a nice long line down the middle. So I really want to try to achieve the amount of clay that I need. I want to have it as a nice clean tube before I start pressing. So I'm going to work it a little bit. As excited as I am to try it, I know that it would be a mistake to not smush it all together in one solid piece first. I wish the stupid OBS told me how many people were watching. I really don't have any idea. I guess I'll have to get a YouTube something open. I'm just streaming from OBS because I've got the multiple cameras set up and all that. But all I can see is the live chat. I don't really see participants. So if you want to say, hey, go for it. Because otherwise I won't be able to know if anybody's there. All right, my music just ended. I need to start something new. We're going Yo-Yo Ma cello. All right. All right, let's see what happens, guys. Ooh, it's a little warmer now. Oh, it's already getting cold. Feels nice and solid. I'm not too worried about it. So the real key here is just to get a nice even press and have as little of this crap as possible. So be careful. Some of it will press out automatically, but let's just find out. The cool thing is I have you know, the ability to press a bunch of times. The problem is it will break if I press too hard, so I've got to be careful. I want it thin towards the edges, so I might even slice down it with a knife. Did it a little thick on purpose. I'm pressing firmly, but I'm really trying not to snap the snap. Oh man, I don't want to snap it. I was pretty happy with the thickness of the other one, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to cut down it. Oh, darn it, I gotta find my knife. Oh, there it is. And if I carve too close, I may end up, you know, shaving down a little bit of the mold each time. You know, it's wear and tear stuff. Be careful. And technically, as long as I save one, I should be able to make another mold. It's not a bad idea, actually. Just in case. So I'm going to go like this. Oh, so nice. I love this clay. Oh, carved too hard. Went right down into it. I should have pressed it as I was going. Oh well. Let's see if I can recover this piece. I basically lifted it out of the mold as I was cutting. So I gotta be careful to press down. You ready? That might be close enough. If I don't press too hard, I could even use a tool to get that shape just right. Yeah, if this was plaster of Paris, it would be chipping up right now. You can see already it's way harder, and when it casts against something really smooth, it ends up like a super hard surface, which I really love. All right, that's not too bad. Just gonna shave away a little bit carefully because I really want to get a good cast out of this. Eesh. It'll get faster as I get used to it. I definitely want to try it with warmer clay next time. So you can kind of shave it with the tool as well. There we go. Just trying for a really exact copy. Alrighty, moment of truth here. Not too bad. That'll work. That will work. All right, I'll press them in a bit more later. See if I can get another one going. If I had the exact amount in my hand first, it would have been better. So I'm going to try to get a little bit closer to the right amount before pressing it. Really warm it up. Really cooling down fast. Still a little warm, but now it's rock hard. Quite happy with it. And also, if I want it to be a little thicker behind the feather, I can choose to build it up. But that was a little too much. And also, when I'm making the shorter ones, I can just do that much clay instead. Should be fine. All right, I'm going to warm that up properly. See if I can guess a little bit better. I can always try a little less and then save it for later too. Got a bunch of these to make, so it'll be a while. Ooh, it's starting to sweat. Yeah, see, it's got a little bit of sweat still from really evaporating off. Just leaving a little water behind on the table. I mean, really, that's what I should have waited for before snapping it off. But I got impatient. Man, this is cooling down. Yeah, you don't want to be doing this in a cold room with cold hands. It would be next to impossible. All right, let me see how much this makes. I'm kind of curious. Quite a bit more than I realized, huh? Actually, not that thick. Another thing you could do is roll it. Might do. Problem is it lifts it up a little bit. If it lifts it up a little bit each time and then you press it back down, you're going to end up with uneven press, which is not great. That's probably far enough too. I don't need to go all the way down each time. As I go up the tail, I'm going to need them shorter and shorter. Nice. That's going to work. Even these little bits at the end, I could carve it off, but I'm just going to use it to smush it into itself, so it doesn't bother me. And that is faster than making them all individually. Oh my god, I'll be here all night. That is gonna work. Oh, it's gonna look good. Okay, well, rinse and repeat. It's going to be boring, but I am going to be adding on to this, so it's going to start building up pretty quickly. The trickiest bit here is getting it to be a solid piece enough that it's not going to want to break, right? Yeah, every individual one that I stick on is going to be weak if I leave gaps like this. So I'm going to have to do something to press them into each other, like even just a little bit like that at the edges, and then it'll be slightly stronger each time I layer it up. Boy, oh boy, is that faster! My God. Saved so much time. You can even use the tree and press it around it a little bit and let it hold on to that. It's kind of nice anyway. And then I can add my little flourishes to make it a little different. And already they're a little different from each other. And you want the eyes of the feathers to look the same anyway, so I don't think I ever would have been able to match them all that fast and that similar. Okay, so I'm going to come around the other side. I'm going to start adding some here, and eventually just taper them in. I'll go all the way around, actually. Maybe, we'll see. What I got. Lots to do. Probably break for dinner soon. Come back at this. It might be my last one for today. This is quite a lot of hours. But I'm going to be doing this anyway, so I don't know. People want to watch, they can watch. Alright, I think this is a better amount. Let's see. I'll try to get it a little bit flatter. Yeah, see, it's surprisingly a little bit of clay in there, in that hole, so it really doesn't need to be that thick. But any of these little breaks will be weak, so I want to make sure to get those out. It's working. Whoa, that's a pretty good guess. A little thicker, but I don't actually mind. These are quite thin. I kind of want it a little bit thicker at the edge. Oh, if only I saved that piece to know how much to use next time. Oh well. All right, yeah, that kind of feels right. I like that extra bit of thickness. It'll give me a nice thing to hold on to and to smush. Bang, bang, bang. No, I'm happy with this. You see those little bubbles do almost nothing. I'm not even worried about them. Super easy to smooth out. Okay, what is next? Let's do Best of James Taylor. All right. Yeah, I'm lame and old, guys. Deal with it. Oh, that's why I'm not forcing you to listen to my music, too. James Taylor's awesome. Give him a chance if you don't like him. See, look at that. Just a little cleanup. Like a perfect rendition, just a little thicker. Totally worked. Oh, whoops. I don't see where I'm putting that. Trickiest bit is getting it to press into the other one without destroying the one underneath it. Ooh, that's tricky. But it's working. Somehow. Getting it close. Don't break it. So anything that's like on the tree, I'm not going to leave a gap. I'm just going to seal it up, make it stronger. I'll worry about the edge in a little bit. Still going to be the weakest point, but as I build them up, I think it'll be fine. I've never made this before. I'm just kind of guessing at some of it. That is looking right. Like that, like that. Kind of curious to see the layering now. This is happening. This is happening. Yeah, the mug is that big. It's an efficient container. You don't have to fill it up more than once a day. Just working it to get the friction going, warms it up. So much easier to press. But because it cools so fast and holds its shape, you can see how well this works in a press. In doing other molds, if you're doing like jewelry or, you can get that metal infused clays, you need to make a silicone mold because a straight plaster press would not come out so easily. I mean, maybe it would if it has 0 undercuts. But I think you gotta wait for them to dry. I think those are air dry. The one I used once was a silver infused, and it worked like water clay. You could join to it. You could make whatever you wanted to make if you could make it that small, which was very difficult. But you bake it in a mini kiln and you have like a perfect silver piece. But it reduces a lot. It shrinks, like that much would shrink. But you get this amazing silver one-off piece, which you could make into a jeweler mold or whatever if you knew a jeweler. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do next. Definitely want to get into that. I'm messing around a lot with this copper plating lately, the flash copper, and it's working really well. I'm seriously curious about plating this whole thing. I might actually do it. I got enough. I got a 2.5 gallon, or what is it, 2 gallon? 1.5 gallon. So as long as I spray coat it with the conductive paint, I could technically copper coat this whole thing. All right, well, I think I just talked myself into it. I have to do it because this would look dope in copper. It'll look tricky to polish it up, but you can get you get a clean enough coating, you can do quite a bit with it. And then it's like legit copper. Are getting nice and warm now. I think I'm just going to press into it and then break it off. Let's see what happens here. too bad. I think I'm just going to shave it a little looser. Too much clay again. Well, the knife's not bad for this. I'm just going to cut it above the surface on purpose, though, because I don't want to get it too close. I don't want to shave off the plaster. And I want it to be a little thicker than the first one. Oosh. That's working. Working. Boom. Now this part, I want to have it supported by something. I don't really want it to spread out, so I think I might go, just tuck it underneath this one. Yep, that'll do. So I can get it on before dropping it. I might have to just use a couple to build it up. I don't want to have lots of gaps. So I don't like this gap under here, so I might have to fill that in with some clay. It's not the worst thing. I kind of guessed at the volume for the tail. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with these little feather tips. So I'm just going to build it up underneath there. Be real careful not to smush it as I'm holding it. I'm holding the branch parts. Wants to lift it off. Pressing that against the other side is really difficult because I'm feeling like I'm going to smush it every time I go to press. Probably should have joined it better before starting to put feathers on, but I got a little excited. So I'm pressing up here a little too hard. Snap it right off. All right, I think I got a good line under there. So now I could even put this on top, which is what I wanted to do. It's happening. The only thing I don't like is how loose it is, but there's not much I can do. I'm not going to glue them down. They will bake with enough firmness, I think, that I'll get away with it, especially once I start layering these up. So I'm going to have another set of eyes, you know, coming up. That's how they stack. Just debating about how many to do coming up there. I might just start those two at the bottom, then two, then another two. You know, it doesn't need to be an accurate number, as long as it feels good. I think it'll look super nice. Let's take a look back again. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. It's definitely gonna have to go in a full-size oven though. You can see how tall it is. I usually use the toaster oven for little stuff. It's gonna look nice. I like it, guys. I like it. It seems like one of these isn't enough, but two is way too many. What's going on, cat? Hey, thanks, Jeff. Ooh, I gotta clip my nails. Kind of like having a nail though to carve sometimes. Yeah, see, twisting them together, you end up with this crap. You definitely don't want that. Debating whether to get the pasta maker out. I need to. Just smushing it back through the pasta maker really just helps. Honestly, that pushes it back together, It doesn't really warm it up, but it makes it smoother again. It definitely warms up faster. The longer it's sat, the more brittle it is when you first take it out. They do have oil to thin it, but you have to use like a drop for a pound or something ridiculous. It's really a little too responsive, and then you end up with this goopy mess. But it's really just this tiniest little bit of oil, and it'll turn it into much softer Sculpting. But this firm, I guess, they figured out the formula. People were, using different methods to thicken it up. The original Super Sculpey was really good, but still it was hit or miss. Sometimes the factory, it would come out like really soft and goopy, and other times it would be firm and nice. They seem to have figured it out. I usually get it in bulk when I'm doing a class. I've gotten, I don't know, at least 10 pounds sitting over there ready to go from collecting over the years. Yeah, so anyway, you can see why I'm taking a little extra time to make each one really smooth and clean, because I do not want to have it crack in half when I pull it out. It's nice and hard now. It's already cooled down. It's not evaporating any water off it anymore. It's pretty much done. I mean, you can see the oil is actually getting into it, which is even better because it's not going to be as sticky each time I get a little oil in there. There we go. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I don't see this stopping. It's working. Yep. So I'm doing a really slow, smooth press for that. Do not want to smush it. Making a firm join there. So I'm just smearing it long. I'm going to cover it up anyway. But yeah, that should do it. Should do it. See how that just shape lends well to pressing into itself. I'm just really happy with how it's going. The only thing I don't like is the back of that. I may have to cheat and fill it in, which, you know, is totally normal for sculptures. You have a support behind something like that. Kind of just cheat it round. It's not looking good though. Man. I'm quite happy with how that looks. It's starting to peel up a little bit in between each one. Let me get this a better spot. Nope, that's on the camera. Now it's going to glare on my screen. I can't see. No, I can't see with the glare. Maybe from the side. Oh, there you go. That's not too bad. As long as you can see it. Alright, now it's going to start to thicken up as I layer that, which I am totally cool with. Keep spiraling them around. Oh, it's going to look good. Alright, well, I'm going to keep going here. Super Sculpey getting a bit dried out. Yes, the Super Sculpey that's dried out is totally totally savable with a little bit of this bottle. I think I have, where is it? I have it around here somewhere. I've got this tiny little bottle that I bought from, God, I don't even remember, one of the sculpting supply places, but I'm guessing you can find it on Amazon pretty easy now. But it's just called Super Sculpey Thinner, and it's a little bottle of oil. You put a couple of drops, and if you have one of these Italian pasta makers, you see they sell them for clay now, because, I don't know, people have used them so often. I figured it out a long time ago. It's just a handy, perfect device for flattening clay. And if you do it with that, you have to cut it into little strips. So if you have your brick, like this brick, as you can see, it's rock hard. Like this is almost impossible. So this is firm that's been sitting for years, and I couldn't tool it at all. It would just crumble. So what I did was I slice it as thin as I can with a blade, and then just throw that into the pasta maker over and over again, and it comes out crumbly the first couple times. But even just redoing it through the rollers will make it into this again. But sometimes I mix it even with a little bit of the super soft clay. So if you mix this gray with the flesh-colored regular Sculpey, you'll basically end up with slightly less gray, but much softer. So a couple of ways to do it. But yeah, don't throw out the clay. It lasts for years. I've had some of these boxes for more than 10 years. Some of them, I don't even know how long. But I've even taken clay off of old pieces and just, you know, reuse the armature, reuse the clay. It'll last a long time. It gets a little dirty. Like, you don't want to let dust and stuff sit on it for years and years. And then, you know, you'll have a bunch of dust in your clay. But if it's little dusty motes and hairs, that stuff bakes out anyway. It burns right off. So you won't even see it. But it's nice to have clean clay. But yeah, a couple of drops of that oil. If you've sliced it up, you mix it in there. The only issue is it gets like, it's so concentrated that it'll be like really slimy when you first go to throw it through the rollers. But if you massage it in with your hands into one piece, and then you mix the softer clay with the harder brittle crumbles, like I've had whole piles of crumble, and just run it through again and again and again, and I get these nice sheets after a while. So yeah, I like to save money, not waste things. So I will always recommend to keep your clay. Otherwise, give it to me. I'll use it eventually. No, you should fix your clay. There might be a link for it in one of my old videos. I can't remember if I had linked to it or not. I know I mentioned it before in one of my old videos, so it's possible. I may even have it in one of the classes and show it off. I'm not sure, but it does exist, and it is the same brand name, and it's a very specific oil. It's whatever oil mixes with who knows what the hell this stuff's made of, and it completely works to thin it. A little bit better guess that time. Hey, there we go. Just the right amount. Oh well. Gone forever. Probably shouldn't be so far away. Oh, and by the way, this clay obviously doesn't come like this. This is just from me doing doing this in meetings and whatever. Super bored watching something. Reconstituting this into these nice little strips just by feel. It's also good practice to roll out cylinders as smooth and even as you can. But yeah, don't ever use a heat lamp or a kind of hot box for warming up this clay. It will bake. I've baked it under lights before by accident, and then on purpose. Sometimes it's hard to get it in the oven, and if you have a really hot lamp and you want to get, you don't get it as even as you do in an oven, but it works. You can fully bake it. I've done it in a car before too. Left a sculpture in a car and came back, and hot summer day, it was totally baked. Alright, better take this one out before it sticks. I don't know, I think cooling it down, letting it cool inside here is probably not a bad idea either. It comes right out. It just keeps working. Don't drop it and smush it. A little powdery. But again, just having this firm is always better than it not being firm. So I'm just trying to put the next one, staggering them. And yeah, that's probably not technically the way their tails go, but this is a styled thing. I'll just overlap it more. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Oh, did I smush it? No. Oh, I didn't. So again, this is why I love this clay. I had my finger fully on that, and I did not smush it from the other side because it's been sitting and it's a little cool. It's totally holding it like that. Ooh, almost smushed it. Yeah, that would work. This would be pretty cool for a phoenix too. A lot of people make phoenixes out of the same style of bird, basically. That is exactly what I wanted. Ooh, sometimes I get lucky, guys. Oh, that's great. Love the way it's just draping over. Not sure what I'm going to do under there yet. Might just put some upside down, which isn't technically wrong. If you've ever seen a feather from the back, they look similar to the front. They're just a little different color-wise. But they're, I could probably get away with that just to fill it in. All right, so next layer. That's perfect for the bottom one. I'm trying to think how many I might need. I do 1, 2, 3. Just stagger them. Pretty much what they do. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Got a few more to do still. This is again why I didn't want to do them individually. And Sculpey clay softener. There you go. That's it. Yeah, see, you know what to search for. It's pretty easy to find. But yeah, you only need a tiny bottle of it. I bought once, and I used it a few times, and I've never had to buy it again. I do a fair bit of this. See, I'm getting better at dropping that blank piece in there. Yep, that'll work. If I really wanted an end, I could have thought of, I could have modeled a gap in there. Yeah, thanks. Bit of luck, bit of practice, bit of universal, I don't know what. I do put an effort in, but I don't know. Honestly, sometimes I get surprised. But I think that's a good thing. Keeps me interested in it. That's what makes it fun for me. I'm not getting tired of that, I gotta tell you. Let's see, this is gonna get thick, but I kind of don't hate that. Let's see. I'm just holding on to it, warming it up on the piece so that it slowly sticks. The more I do that, the more I'm going to smush it, so I gotta be careful. Being able to bend it, so useful. So that's why I didn't just bake a bunch of these first and stick them on, because I would not be able to bend them to the shape, obviously. And it seems like I'm just covering it all up, but eventually you'll see the gaps and you'll see the feather part. That's kind of how it is. If you look at any sculptures of them, you really just see the eyes overlapping at the tip and then slowly going up. When they fan out, you see them in different layers. Technically more at the end than less as you go closer, but again, I don't care. As long as it looks good. So because of that, I know I'm going to cover this up. I'm going to just smush this a little bit better. Boom. See, I'm trying to work it while it's still somewhat warm. Do it. Yeah, it's gonna build up and be nice and thick. Whoop. Hey, what are you doing back there? Well, goofy cat. I'm lucky she's not one of those knock things off of shelves cat. Otherwise, this place would be a mess. It's nothing but shelves. Most of the time, she just sits next to me and sleeps, but she's actually really sweet. What the hell is she doing? Hey, get out of there. I don't like how cracky that's getting. Some of it will go away when I press into it, but I really don't want to leave that. I mean, I could just knead it, flip it, fold it. But the more folds when it's really dry, the more lines you make for breaking. Unless you really get it warm. Yeah, let's hope it goes away when I press it. these I don't want to be too thick because I'm layering them up. So I might shave these down from now on. Looks like I got the right amount, I just have to spread it. As long as I press down and out as I cut it, I won't lift it up and lose any surface detail. No. Keep dropping it. Nice. Well, that kind of worked out. So I'm trying to split the difference between those three to make them look like they're in line, which kind of works. Any good sculpting books? Yeah, I mean, there's a ton. I don't know. I mean, really, it's going to vary per artist. There's a lot of good stuff out there, but I don't know. I was lucky. I had a father who sculpted ever since I was little, so I didn't really. I mean, I still look at books. I definitely did. There's a Bruno Lucchese book that my dad liked a lot, but you know. I think there's one called Popular Sculpture, if you're interested in doing stuff for collectibles or toys. It's got a lot of really good insider info about the wax clay mixture that people use. Some people like to sell for money, but it's actually just really simple formula. But anyway, don't want to criticize anybody out there. But yeah, Popular Sculpture, it's a really good book. It's got a lot of step-by-step stuff, and they show how they make these really cool. They do action figures as well as like a sideshow collectible. Stop scratching. But you're welcome to look through the rest of my course. I mean, the course that I used to teach at different universities was, well, universities, let me be fair, post-secondary training schools, like art schools for specific things like game art and things like that, animation. So I taught at some of those schools, and I taught the sculpting course that's on this channel. And it's a live session from the actual class, so you can basically go through the whole course, most of it. There's probably some missing stuff at the end. I didn't really finish the figure, paint it. So it's mostly complete though, but it's got a lot of really good beginner exercises. Making a hand, making the sculpting from cartoon drawings. But I honestly haven't looked for sculpting books in a long time, so I don't know if I'd be the best to recommend any that are out there now. But yeah, I would definitely recommend doing a little course if you can, like the free one that I have here. But I mean, we'll see how this goes. I really want to do more regular sessions like this. I try to come up with a time, regular time every week at the very least. This week I'm off, so, and I've got motivation to get some stuff done, so I'm going to be binging this week. But I'll try to go through some lessons that are really for anybody. So I was doing that. I have some private students every now and then where I do some lessons like that. But yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff that we could do. But yeah, the best thing to start with is just find a subject matter that you like a cartoon character, and try to work out the shapes, especially anything Disney. Those things are, you know, the models have been worked out. Almost any cartoon, full feature film, they've made those characters in 3 dimensions before they draw them. And now, of course, there's 3D everywhere. But still, the solving those cartoon characters in 3D space is a really good exercise for training your eye and the volume that you can see. There's always problems to solve. But yeah, the other thing is just work your way up to working from life. Your hand is a really good subject because you have it sitting right there. So one of the first things I always do with students is make your hand. And I've got, I don't know how many sitting around. I must have done it 50 or 100 times. Yeah, I think this is one of my ones from, I don't even know how many years ago now, but you do it in the flesh-colored Sculpey, and it's super creepy, but it works. It's kind of weird. But yeah, the Super Sculpey, God, I don't even know what year this was. This is one of the earliest ones I did. Jesus. Oof, a long time ago. More than 20 years. But yeah, these are some of the ones from my class. I think I still have them here. Like this one. Like taking the cartoon drawing and converting it. It's a tricky thing to do, you know. Gotta solve all the 3-dimensional problems with it. And I really like doing caricature likenesses and life study stuff and all kinds of things, really. And you're welcome. Ooh, it's getting late. I'm on too much of a roll, though. I don't know if I can stop until I get this tail done. takes an annoying amount of time to warm this up, but it's so worth it in the end. It's just getting annoying. It's a good guess. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop for food. Get these last two done. Do I ever work with wet clay? I'm guessing you mean wet? W-E-D? I don't know. Maybe that's something else. But if that's the name of the clay, I haven't heard of it. But I will check it out. Bang. Yeah, I see. A little wrinkle, but it's fine. Smush it out. I have to start getting them to twirl and eventually go straight there. I'm just going to cut it off. Gotta be careful there too. I don't want it to build up too much to make that super thick. Yeah, we'll see. Oh, no, I didn't know that. Walt Elias Disney. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely used water-based clay, but lots of different terracottas, and honestly, I get a pound of it at the dollar store for a couple of dollars, and I've done a bunch of stuff with that. I mean, it's fun to mess around with, but it's real messy, which I kind of like, actually. I'm not complaining. but I don't have a kiln, so I can't really do anything with it afterwards. Boom. Oh, that's working. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, it's messy, but there's something about, you know, it's a primal thing, really. I mean, think of how old it is to be able to work with clay from the ground. So, I don't know, I'm convinced it's good for you in some ways. Getting your hands in the dirt and clay. That is working. Yeah, that's kind of how I want it to look. We'll see how it ends up, but it's getting close. I don't need to go too far up, but I'm gonna get like one more layer for sure. One there, one there, one here. I don't know if I want to add any more up here though. I kind of like the thickness. I like how it looks. 3 or 4 more. We'll see. I'm gonna definitely stop for dinner now, and I'm probably gonna be back at this. I don't know. We'll see how the evening goes. Maybe not tonight. I've been at it for a while today. Yeah, just like when we were kids. Yeah, that's kind of the joke of why I pretend like I know what that clay tastes like, because I had it in my hands when I was, I don't even know how old, but definitely younger than 2 years old when kids put things in their mouths. And I definitely remember the feeling of looking at it, tasting it, see my teeth marks in it. So yeah, I didn't swallow it, but I do remember biting into it once. It didn't taste good. Okay, last one. I don't want to waste this clay that I've painstakingly warmed up in my hands. So I'm going to do one more right now. See if I do that back one. Fill in that spot right there. Ooh, so nice. Such a bushy, beautiful tail. Such great birds. They are a little vicious though, if you've ever been around them. Unless you raise them and they, you know. Oh, see ya. Thanks for hanging out. Anyway, don't go trying to pet a peacock. They are not, they're like any bird, really. They can be friendly or not. We had a turkey once that was super friendly, but most of them aren't. I don't know, birds are weird. I do like them though. this. This is the right tool for this. Okay, last one for now. Yeah, that's it. I like it. All right, well, if anybody's still here, thanks for watching. I'll be around for sure tomorrow. Not so sure about tonight. I think I'm gonna go relax. I think I made good progress. Should be good to go for wrapping this up. Oh my god, wait, Thursday. Oh crap. Maybe not. But it's yeah, only a couple days left. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'll be here around, and if I'm gonna be sitting here, I'll probably turn this back on and stream it. But of course, you can watch it whenever you like. So it's just going out for fun. Whoever wants to see. And boy, am I happy with that. I like the silhouette that cuts. Yeah. All right. See you guys. Thanks again.